It's really true. Once upon a time, the chestnut tree complained loudly because its buds didn't like the cold. "The frost comes at night and nips my big buds with icy fingers," said the chestnut tree, creaking loudly in the winter wind. "What's the use of growing new leaf buds if the frost kills them one by one? I shall have no leaves left at all next spring. Little folk, come and do something about it." So the elves came, tiny creatures who looked after flowers and leaves, who polished the shining petals of the celandines when they blossomed, and rubbed up the little coppery beetles that rang among the grasses in the summer. "We can wrap your baby leaves in cotton wool," said the elves. "We'll get some for you." So they did, and soon every tiny chestnut leaf was wrapped warmly in soft cotton wool, but still the chestnut tree complained loudly. "The frost still nips my leaf buds right through the cotton wool," said the big tree. "I tell you, I shall have no leaves at all. Do something, little folk, or we chestnuts will be bare all summertime." So the elves held a meeting, and they made up their minds to paint the big fat buds with sticky glue. "Nothing like a good coat of glue to keep away the fingers of Jack Frost," said the elves, and they sat up all night and painted glue over each fat bud. When Jack Frost came along to pinch the buds with his cold fingers, he didn't like the glue, so he left them alone. So they grew bigger and fatter, and when the right time came, they burst out of their glue coats, grew out of the brown scales that held them, and put out little green fingers which were still wrapped in cotton wool. Well, any boy and girl knows all this. I should think there's hardly anyone who hasn't picked the fat chestnut buds, felt their stickiness, and put the twigs into water to watch the green fingers unfurl. Now the plane tree thought all this was a very good idea. It grew next to the chestnut tree, and Jack Frost used to come and pinch the plane tree's buds as well. How they trembled when they felt his cold fingers turning them black and shrivelling them up. "What am I to do?" said the plane tree. "I have my leaf buds wrapped up so well. The tiny leaves are wrapped in a quilt of soft silky down to keep them warm. They're covered up well in tiny scales that are protected with soft fur, and the outer coast of the bud is lined with sticky gum, as strong as any mackintosh." "You grow your buds too small," said the chestnut tree. "Grow them fat and big like mine, and when the bitter days of the new year come, they will be strong." "It's on the cold days of autumn that my buds feel the cold so much," said the plane tree. "What else can I do for them? They cannot be more warmly wrapped up than they already are." "Ask the little folk," said the chestnut tree. "What are they for if not to help us?" So the plane tree called the elves and told him his troubles. "You must think of some plan to protect my baby leaves in the autumn," said the plane tree. "It's then they feel the cold, and they become so weak they don't grow well in the new year. What can I do?" This was a puzzle. After all, the plane tree already wrapped its leaves in down and covered them with furry scales. The sticky gum inside their outer case was very strong too. Really, there seemed nothing else to do to help the weak baby leaves. And then an elf had a bright idea. She whispered it to the others. "Can it be done? It's never been done before. It will take us a long, long time, but we'll try it," they said. The elves flew that night to the plane tree, which was still covered with its summer leaves. The elves worked very hard indeed, all night long, and what do you think they did? They took every leaf from its twig. They hollowed out the leaf stalk at the bottom, making it round and large and empty. And then, instead of fitting back each leaf in the place it grew, they carefully fitted the end of the hollowed out stalk over the little new leaf buds that were already showing on the twigs. "The leaf stalks fit over next year's buds like little caps," said an elf, pleased. "I say, isn't this a good idea? The little buds will be well protected now. Jack Frost can hunt all he likes for the buds on the plane tree, but he won't find them. They're all hidden at the bottom of the stalks of the autumn's leaves." The elves flew away, tired out with their night's work. Jack Frost came along at night, hunting for tender leaf buds to nip. He came to the plane tree, and how he stared. "I can't see a single bud on the tree," he said. "Not one. Where are the next year's buds? I can see the autumn leaves, but not a bud is to be seen, though there are plenty on the other trees." He hunted up and down the plane tree, but he couldn't find the buds. They were too well hidden under the leaf stalks, which fitted over them most perfectly. After that, Jack Frost didn't bother to hunt for plane buds any more. They nestled under the bottom of the old leaf stalks, safe and sound, warm and cosy. And when the leaves fell off, there were tiny buds underneath, well grown and strong, ready to burst into new leaves in next year's spring. It sounds like a fairy story, doesn't it? And that's what everybody says. And yet, it's a very funny thing, but it's really true that the leaf stalks are hollowed out to fit over the new growing little buds on every plane tree. Will you look and see when the plane tree has grown its big leaves and is changing colour in the autumn? Don't forget, you won't see a single bud on the tree, but pull away a leaf and you'll find a new bud nestling underneath. Now, wasn't that a clever idea?